So over here we have the 1955 map of the Centerville and Southwestern Railroad, which was featured in a pamphlet or a booklet you could buy of the railroad, so it was available to the public, as well as being featured in the crew pamphlets. It features an elevation diagram of the railroad, as well as a map of the entire right-of-way, fairly easy to read for the public visitor. This is a survey map made in 1969, showing both the original alignment of the railroad and the realignment. In 1969, Highway I-280 cut right through a part of the railroad, necessitating a realignment, seen in this dog bone shape over here. If we move to the west, we can see the original alignment. And as you can see, it was bisected by Highway I-280. Beautiful drawing of 1501. I love that little part of the map. Now, I also have on here satellite imagery of today. This is 2014 imagery. And as you can see, this was not the original terrain that the railroad ran through. It is a fairly intense business complex. Livingston and Eagle Rock Avenue over here, Becker Farm Road, aptly named, cutting through the complex. Interestingly, the Becker farmhouse still stands today, right over here with its impressive stone chimney. And over here, the vehicle maintenance building from Becker's farm. This is where the CNS rolling stock was moved in the winter for maintenance and storage. Right here, the 1969 high bridge of the realignment of the railroad over Fullerton Brook, and a little farther south, the abutments for the Centerville Bridge over the brook also still exist, although in a very decayed state. The real gem, however, is when we move west. Right here, the Peachtree Y still exists as a walking path, unfortunately owned by ADP, which does not like trespassers on its property, so you would be trespassing if you went there. But on the other side of the highway, the right-of-way still exists as a walking path in Becker Park. As you can see in this LiDAR imagery showing the ground terrain, obviously Highway I-280, and fairly prominent, the Peachtree Loop. Right over here, this is Wet Weather Creek. There was a culvert there, the railroad crossed. Peachtree Y, and the rather dramatic Peachtree Cut. It was a rock cut that took some effort to construct. The rest of the campus, of course, this LiDAR imagery shows the current business campus, and it's nothing like the farmland. To get a view of the farmland, we can go to yet another image I have, which is this. This is a 1954 USGS aerial photograph of the business campus of Baker's Farm. Peachtree Loop then and now. Following the railroad east, Horseshoe Curve right there, and heading downgrade Pigpen Hill into the Centerville area. It is interesting to note that Becker Farm Road essentially crosses right through what was once Centerville Station. Centerville Station, right over here. Becker Farm Road runs right through it today. Incidentally, there is a crosswalk, almost exactly where the railroad was. That's the roundhouse over there. Not there anymore. But, as I mentioned, Becker Farmhouse still stands, as does the vehicle maintenance building, as we can see. And in 1954. Much of the other dairy complex buildings seen here by Centerville, the Centerville area, have been long removed, as has all that farmland, the cropland. The dairy buildings are there no longer. But let's bring back the survey map. The 1969 survey map, which we assume, we know actually is accurate because it corresponds identically to these aerial photographs. Something that is interesting to note is when we bring in the 1955 map, overlay it on top of the others, Peachtree Loop, right? It's slightly smaller. Peachtree Loop is made slightly smaller than it should be. When we look at the rest of the railroad, it is drawn exactly. The 1955 map matches the 1969 map and satellite imagery quite exactly, as you can see. When we get into the Centerville area, there are a few more discrepancies. If you look at the pond, it's basically right where it should be, but the Centerville station itself and the track running into the Centerville yard slightly at a lower angle than perhaps they should be. All that being said, I really wonder where Mr. Becker got imagery or surveys in 1955 to create this map, which, aside from the smaller Peachtree Loop, is exactly as it should be. I wonder if he got it from this 1954 aerial photograph, if he had the means to acquire that photograph, or if he had someone survey it. Either way, very accurate map with the just slightly smaller Peachtree Loop. I do find it interesting to zoom out and see how big the CNS was. I mean, this was a mile-long railroad. Over here, I've started to draw the railroad out on the old imagery with the intention of being able to overlay it onto current satellite imagery to see where it falls on today's business campus. And when you zoom in and look at the tiny little parking spaces, it really becomes evident to my eye how long this railroad was. I mean, it's traversing an entire, very large business campus, what used to be a dairy farm. Made for a mile-long ride, a 2-mile round trip through the woodlands and farmland of Roseland, New Jersey. And so, there you have it. The Centerville and Southwestern Railroad, past and present, and in LiDAR. Stunning LiDAR, one benefit of taking this GIS course at college. The equipment of the CNS operates today in Phillipsburg, New Jersey at the Phillipsburg Railroad Historians, where it is hoped a mile-long ride can be made again for the CNS on the cliffs of the Delaware River. The route of the Pocono.